Bruh. Oh my goodness. So this is my final warning to any adult male and especially any youth male that is listening to Nick Fuentes. Please stop, because he's gonna get you locked up. It's that simple. He's gonna get you locked up. This man has lost the plot. He has lost the plot so much that it's kind of obvious to anyone watching his demeanor and how it's evolved or devolved over the years that he has gotten his $7,000 check.
Damn.
I'm sure Netanyahu probably gave him a little bit more than everyone else, but the $7,000 check has 100% cleared, because I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I thought it was AI. I'm dead ass. I thought it was AI when I was hearing what I was seeing, bro. I was hearing what I'm seeing. I'm mixing up my words. That's how like, just off put I am by what I heard. You have Fuentes not even trying. He is defending Epstein. He's saying Epstein is a cool guy. He's base, and this is cool, right? This is what he is saying about Epstein.
So yeah, I mean, look, Epstein, baller ass nigga. And look, yeah, okay, criminal.
And his twisted logic, okay, his twisted mentality is that, hey, you guys are missing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is not that he was messing with kids, because he goes on to say that, well, these aren't really kids, okay? This isn't pedophilia. These are late teens.
This whole pedo thing, it's like, is it really pedophilia? I don't want to be the one that has to say it, but I guess I'm being forced to say it. It's not really pedophilia, okay?
What?
All right, so before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, I just want to say I am going to just be giving a brief reaction to this video by Amazing Lucas. Some of y'all probably have heard of him, some of you probably haven't, but if you haven't heard of him, Amazing Lucas started off as a pretty conservative YouTuber, and a few years ago he switched over and became a little bit more liberal, a little bit more on the pro-blackity black. He switched up, and I think his moment where he changed up was when the Ahmaud Arbery case happened down in southeast Georgia. For those of y'all that are familiar with that case, where the guys followed the young man and shot him and killed him. He said he was just jogging through the neighborhood. They accused him of breaking into houses, but not to get too sidetracked with the timeline. But I'm not a huge fan of Amazing Lucas most of the time, but on this particular video, I'm very, very disturbed at what I'm hearing from Nick Fuentes and several other very prominent YouTubers and social media commentators have, spoken about Nick Fuentes' views on Epstein. And I just find it really peculiar, because Nick Fuentes has had a lot of anti-Jewish rhetoric. He says he's not an anti-Semite. Okay, I'll give him that. Let's just say he's not an anti-Semite. But to hear him cape up for a Jewish guy who was, notorious for trafficking underage girls, there's even a actual documentary called Surviving Jeffrey Epstein. So there's no denying that Jeffrey Epstein was who people say he was. And for Nick Fuentes to say these words is weird. It just doesn't make any sense.
They weren't trafficking 5-year-olds. It was like they were technically not legal. Big difference, in my opinion. I know that's a controversial take.
Just a sick world we're living in. Sick people.
That the bigger picture is that he was, more than likely an Israeli spy trying to get blackmail.
No, the issue is that Epstein is a Jewish spy, probably working with Israel. That's the dilemma there. He's working with Israeli intelligence.
Now, I don't know what to tell you, but there are a lot of ways to get blackmail. And if you think blackmail supersedes somebody messing with children, bruh, we have a problem, okay? We have a problem. Anyone in Lucas land, anyone defending Jeffrey Epstein, they get tried, they get convicted, and they get sentenced to the firing squad.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
That's how that works, okay? I don't know what to tell you. And I've always wondered, why are they so nonchalant with the Epstein files, bro? When they thought that the Democrats were in the Epstein files, right, and they were actually hiding the Epstein files, they were all like, hey, release them. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, all these mofos, right? Then they get in there and mum's the word. Well, no, the official narrative is that that's correct. He did that to himself. And, there was no clientele list. And, this is what we got. Most of it's redacted, but here you go.
What?
Now I'm starting to realize, bro, this entire time, I didn't want to believe it. I just didn't want to believe it. But these mofos is really, they are really the lineage of evil. That's the best way, the YouTube PC way to say it, bro. That's what they are. They are genuinely the lineage of evil, okay? Because at the end of the day, these mofos aren't even concerned with women, all right? They're not even concerned with women. The majority of the right, of the white right, is either homosexuals, closeted homosexuals, trans, or they want to mess with kids, bro.
Come on now, dog.
So he says that the majority of white men on the right are closeted homosexuals and want to mess with children and don't really like women. Now, me personally, I've been on the right for about 60. This year will make 16 years since I switched over. I voted for Obama in 2010. I'm sorry. I voted for Obama in 2008, and I stopped voting for Democrats in 2010. That was my last year. I voted for the Democrat governor candidate here in Georgia named Roy Barnes, and I didn't vote for him because I believed in Democrat values. I voted for him because I liked his policy when it came to transportation, because the Atlanta metro is one of the most traffic plagued metropolises probably on planet Earth, and I liked his plan to improve transportation in the metro area. But 2010 was the last year that I ever voted for a Democrat for major political office such as governor or presidency, right? Of course, presidency would have been in 2012, and I voted for Romney. 2016, I didn't vote for Trump. I just didn't vote for president, but I voted Republican down ticket. 2020 Trump, 2024 Trump, 2022 Brian Kemp here in Georgia, right? So I'm not necessarily in agreement with everything that Amazing Lucas says in this video, but I know a lot of white conservatives, bro, and the overwhelming majority of white conservative males aren't pedophiles. The majority of white conservative males aren't closeted or on the DL. They're actually heterosexual. They're normal white American men just like anybody else, bro. They don't do crazy, weird stuff like that. Are there some closeted homosexual males on the right that are white people? I would say that there are, and I'm going to do a video about a few of them that people have been talking about for quite some time, and they're on the left as well, the people that are making these accusations, but they have some strong receipts, and I'm very, very intrigued by these accusations. That video will be coming real soon, so stay tuned.
That's what it seems to be the case for the majority of these group of people, of these white males, these white youths, or they just cooking for Cocoa Puffs and they go and, do what they do to schools. That's just what it is. They don't go there to learn, bro. They go there to case the joint and see where the exits are. All right, if you get my drift.
Damn.
You have this man, he's saying this on video, bro. Like, there's no way to deny it. He's saying this on video that feminists, you have to understand that the whole word, because someone super chatted him like, hey, pedo has been a word to, hit people, hit men over the head, and to vilify men, and to raise the value, the sex value of hags, right? Of these women, of these feminists.
Last revolutionary sent $20. I know it wasn't your main point, but feminists have completely dominated men with the word pedo. They took what was natural male sexuality for all human history and conflated it with child fucking to shame men away from it and artificially increased the sexual value of hags. How old was Mary again when God impregnated her?
Dude, brother, so true. So true. That is so absolutely true.
I don't know what to tell. I don't know what to tell you. They've gotten to the point where now I guess the age of consent is woke.
Do you know when age of consent became a thing? Like 30 years ago. That is a second wave feminist artifact, but you people are not ready for that.
I didn't see the writing on the wall, bro. I really didn't see it. I didn't expect this from the right, and I guess that's my fault. I sure as heck didn't expect this from this incel homosexual, but bro, it it all makes sense. It all makes sense now. They're talking about age of consent is hooey-fooey and that we should be able to mess with, 11-year-olds because that's the one of the youngest people that Epstein was accused of messing with. And he wasn't like, bro, when we talking about 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, he's talking about, it's all about, sexual maturity. That's what it's about.
Now, you can have your opinion and your taste and your ethics and your morals, but after the age of 14, that is past the point of sexual maturity, just period, biologically.
And I'm just like, he then goes on to say that, the Catholics, all right, the code is that, hey, 14 for women, 16 for boys. But this whole concept that, because of society, that's why we can't go back to the good old days of 14-year-olds getting married to men and 13-year-olds and 11-year-olds getting married, right? This whole concept that society is poisoned people, okay? Because we're all about promiscuity. That's why we can't have these marriages. And you start to see a pattern that they then want arranged marriages, right? They big up in arranged marriages. And it all comes down to that these mofos is sick. They are part of the lineage of evil. That's why they don't want women's rights. That's why they don't want that. That's why they don't want women to vote. They want women to be nothing more than, I guess, ovens for children, bro. They want them to be birth factories. That's it. They don't want them to talk. They don't want them to learn. They don't want them to know anything except recipes. That's what a good faction of this white right want. They're sick in the head, fam. They are sick in the head. And it's not that they want women, because as we see, they want kids, fam. They want kids. The moment in time where you're arguing over, well, that's not pedophilia. That would be technically hebephilia, okay? And that would be epiphilia. Bro, you've lost the plot, bro. You've lost the plot. When you're more focused on criticizing Israel than the innocence of children being removed, you've lost the plot.
Come on, man.
And it gets worse because he goes on to talk about, hey, this is the reason for the low birth rates.
So if a man and a woman reach the age of sexual maturity in their teens, we're telling them you have to wait 10 years? And what, they're going to be chaste that whole time? What are they going to do for those 10 years?
All right, so it's a lot to unpack in that clip, and I just wanted to fact check Nick, because sometimes he just be talking. He's well read on some stuff. I would say he's better with geopolitics than a lot of things here domestically, which is very interesting how you know more about what's going on with Israel and a lot of our leaders and their relationships with these foreign governments, but you don't know as much as you think you do about domestic policy. Now, he said age of consent was a thing like 30 years ago, when in reality there were only 2 states that changed their age of consent within the past 30 years. In the 1800s, the age of consent, it says it mirrored English statutes, setting the age of consent as low as 7, 9, 10, or 12, depending on the state. So in the 1800s, young children, basically 7, 9, and 10 are children. 12 is considered prepubescent, and that's pretty disgusting to me. But they were marrying, minor young children back in the day. That is a fact. When you fast forward to the 20th century in the 1900s, by 1920, many states had adopted the age of 16 as the age of consent, while some setting it at 18. And then by 1995, Georgia went from 14 to 16, and Hawaii was the last state, which is interesting. In 2001, they went from 14 to 16 as well. So the average age of consent across this country in every state is 16 years old. Now, does that mean that people that are in their 20s, their mid and late 20s and 30s should be able to sleep with 16-year-old girls? No, that's not what that means. But if you're 15, 16 years old and you want to have sex, then you're legally allowed to do so if somebody else is around the 15, 16-year-old age mark. But what Jeffrey Epstein was doing was way beyond what Nick Fuentes is talking about. And as far as the fertility thing, yes, young women do reach peak fertility in their 20s. I think it's somewhere in their early to mid 20s, and then it's downhill from there. Males we reach our sexual peak a little bit later, and we can make babies well into our 50s and 60s as long as we have healthy, viable sperm. But of course, sperm quality does degrade over time. I mean, as you get older, male or female, fertility goes down. And the birthing crisis we have in this country and amongst all demographics, especially white and black, that's another conversation for another video. And perhaps I'll do a video about America's birth rate crisis at a later time.
When are women most fertile? It's not at 28, I'll tell you that much. And we wonder why we have a fertility crisis?
Brother,
The reason for the low birth rates is that men can't sleep with 11-year-old girls? Is that men can't marry 15-year-old girls? That's the reason for the declining white birth rate? White women, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell y'all.
All right, I'm going to cut out the next maybe minute or so. He just goes on a tangent about how, you know, white women are going to have a hard time with white men, specifically white conservative men, because of, you know, their attraction to children. He makes these accusations that white men are trying to be with kids. So I'm going to fast forward to this clip he has of Tim Tebow, and we'll be towards the end of the video.
The number one offender type is biological fathers, but by far it is being done by middle-aged Caucasian men. Many, over half of them, college graduates. Many of them are educated, good jobs. This isn't just who we're thinking about. Like, they're you know, technical savvy, and I think that it is time that we call them out. Like, that we can't stand by and stand back. Like, we have to stand up and say, not only are we not doing our job as men, it's actually the opposite. Instead of being defenders and protectors of our families, we're hurting and abusing.
And it all makes sense. It all makes sense now. I understand why the country is, you know, where we are. I understand the racism. I understand all of it, bruh. It all makes sense. I knew these fools were evil due to their hatred and disdain for black people, which was nonsensical. But I didn't know they were like really evil, bro. When we talking about children, bro, when you trying to, you know, differentiate between, oh, well, that's a 9-year-old and that's an 11-year-old. That's a really big difference. You gotta go, bro. We gotta send these people. These are the people that should be, honestly, I should be, you know, deporting them. They got to get deported to somewhere else, bro. They can't be here in America. They can't be here in America. And that's really the problem. The problem is that these people are here in America and they're now in positions of power. They're now in the Oval Office. Oh. We start wondering, at least I have, started wondering, hey, why can't we have, you know, nice things for the American people? Hey, why do we have so many missing kids? Why are these things? Why don't they want children to be educated? And now it's starting to seem that this whole government is in cahoots with the same, you know, child trafficking that they're trying to allegedly stop. That's what it seems like. It seems like this is all systemically positioned, you know, children to be at a disadvantage, especially black kids, so that they can traffic them, so that they can take advantage of them. That's what it seems to be. And bro, this is wicked behavior, fam. This is wicked behavior, and they are trying to sanitize it via the scripture. I don't know what to tell y'all, bro. I don't know what to tell y'all, bro. White women, for those who, because white women are now refugees. It just is what it is. Those are the facts. White women are now refugees. So they're going to be looking for some shelter. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that, you know, black men need to adopt a white woman or anything like that. But I'm just saying they're going to be looking for shelter, bro. It just, it just is what it is, okay? So whether that's a black man, an Asian man, a Latino man, an Indian man, the refugee status right now. That's what they are. They're refugee status because their men are cooked. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think. Nah, bro, there is no either or here, bro. If you agree with that, please leave me alone, bro.
All right, so that's the end of the amazing Lucas video clip I'm going to react to. And he was wrong on some stuff when it came to the Caucasians' rate of child molestation And then, of course, when it comes to the production of child explicit material, that's another set of data. So I'll go over this real quick. And this is from the United States Sentencing Commission. 57.5% of people convicted for federal sexual abuse, 57.5% white, 16.1% black, so we're overrepresented in that category. Hispanics are underrepresented at 11.8%. Native Americans, very bad, 12.1%. Keep in mind, Native Americans make up 1% of the overall population. And then when it comes to producers of child, PORN, 74.6% white, which is around 75%. Now, this data is not very, very specific as far as cumulative arrest. You know, I would say that all 50 states combined, like some of the other data that the FBI does. I don't know exactly how they compiled this data, but it does say federal sexual abuse offenses. So I don't know what the difference is with federal abuse offenses. I have to go and look that up, but that's one of the data sets that I could find when it came to that. So in conclusion, I find it very, very egregious that Nick Fuentes is defending, you know, Jeffrey Epstein. He literally referred to him as a real nigga at the beginning of the video. That's really, really weird. And Amazing Lucas alluded to the fact that Nick Fuentes has probably received $7,000. As we know, a lot of chatter on social media has been talking about how people that are, you know, big influencers are getting paid $7,000 per post by Israel or Mossad or whoever if they, you know, glaze for Israel. But I don't know, man. I don't know what Nick Fuentes is doing. There have been a lot of people that have been making claims that he's a Fed, that he's, you know, working for the government. You know, Israel's got to him because he's definitely changed up. He's not the Nick Fuentes that he was, you know, years ago as far as his, I would say, hardcore anti-Jewish rhetoric. I mean, he seems to kind of flip-flop. You know, one minute he's all in on being an anti-Semite, whatever you want to call it, and then one minute he's sitting here calling Jeffrey Epstein a real nigga. That doesn't make any sense to me. And then to brush these allegations of pedophilia off when it's not even questionable whether or not Jeffrey Epstein was involved with, you know, the trafficking and potentially even blackmailing some of our elected officials. You know, him being a Mossad agent, right? President Bill Clinton, former President Bill Clinton, it is documented that he flew on this plane called the Lolita Express. It is a known fact that he was at Epstein Island along with many other powerful people in the world. Bill Clinton was at Jeffrey Epstein's notorious island. That's a fact. I mean, everybody's seen the pictures of that weird looking building. I just don't understand what Nick Fuentes is doing. I don't get it. I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense to me. Like I said, I don't agree with Amazing Lucas like I used to. He done switched up. As you can see, he's, you know, saying a lot of crazy stuff about white people that's not true. Not collectively. It's crazy white people like it's crazy black and Asian and Hispanic. It's crazy people in every race. But the majority of white people aren't like he's, you know, alluding to. But y'all let me know what y'all think. I know Amazing Lucas is not to be taken seriously on a lot of stuff, but I gotta agree with him on the Nick Fuentes take on this. And a lot of people, you know, question Nick Fuentes' sexuality. It just doesn't make sense to me at all, bro. It don't make no sense whatsoever. And I'm gonna log off. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Peace.